Greetings, friends. So glad you returned to see our next episode of Chatting About the Bible People. So I'm going to be speaking with Lori Rainchuso today, but before we do, I'm going to show you what's not a Bible. I usually talk about a Bible. This is not a Bible. I know that many people my age were raised not reading the Bible, but thanks be to God, I wasn't raised that way. And this was a storybook of Bible stories that we read in school, actually. And it has all the different, it's the Bible storybook. I will put a picture of this on there. And it has just all the different Bible stories are listed. And it actually starts with creation, of course. And then it also does have, we're going to talk about Martha today. There's the story of Martha. So this is not a Bible, but it's a great way to introduce your children to Bible stories. And it's an easy reader Bible, so they can read it. And it's Bible enough for little kids, I think. So that's my Bible for the day. And thank you for coming. This is Lori Rainchuso. And what is something that you do in the parish?
I help out with St. Vincent de Paul as a caseworker, and I'm an adorer for adoration, and I also help part-time. I used to help full-time with the Wheelchair Express.
Oh, nice.
And they're about to bring that back. So.
Right, that's right. So the Wheelchair Express, in case, maybe you can say something about it in case the
we
viewers
just
don't know.
help for about 30 minutes prior to the beginning of Mass, and we just help our parishioners who need a little assistance getting into the church with a wheelchair. And usually, sometimes it's someone maybe that has a fractured foot and it's temporary, or sometimes it's more permanent, but they really do appreciate our assistance helping them in and out. And then afterwards, after Mass, we stay and help them back out.
Right.
Sometimes parishioners are able to walk out of the church themselves, but they need a little assistance getting in. So because of the downward ramp, I think it's a little easier than getting up. So sometimes they walk out themselves, but it's a nice, easy way to help in ministry, to help with our parishioners, and it doesn't take too much of your time, and it's usually, you can pick the time of the Mass that you usually go to and
Right.
assist with that.
So these are people that they aren't in wheelchairs all the time. They just have a little bit of a mobility problem
Right.
getting into the church.
Right, just a little mobility
That's
issue.
great. That's great. So who are we going to talk about today?
Martha.
Martha. That's great.
Yeah.
So in case the viewers don't remember anything about Martha, maybe you can tell a little bit about
So
her.
this is, she's in the Bible twice, I believe.
Yes.
Jesus visits Martha and Mary, and this is the story. You've probably heard sermons on where Martha's, busy, distracted, working, and Jesus has just come to her home. So we probably all would be like this, right? Distracted and trying to prepare and serve. Her feast day is coming up in July, by the way, and she's the patron saint of servers and homemakers and housewives. So, she's trying to get everything ready, and she says to Jesus, probably to get accolades or to get affirmation, really, Martha's sitting there, Mary's sitting there, what can she needs to help me, and Jesus, somewhat rebukes her and says, Martha, Martha, and he reminds her,
Why don't you read it?
So he reminds her, he says, Martha, Martha, you're anxious and troubled about many things. One thing is needful. Mary has chosen the good portion, which shall not be taken away from her. So I think sometimes Martha gets a bad rap, right? Or we think of her in the negative connotation because, and I do this myself because I resonate with Martha. That's why I chose her today, because I'm action-oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And so with this two kind of, comparison of Martha and Mary, Martha's more action-oriented and Mary's more contemplative, right? She's more prayerful. And it seems like that must be the better half, right? Because Jesus somewhat rebukes Martha, but he doesn't say that what Martha's doing is wrong. He just says that what Mary's doing is the better aspect of it. So I think Martha, although we sometimes think of her in the negative sense, I think she teaches us a lesson, because if we're action-oriented, and for someone who is action-oriented, we oftentimes maybe can't see, why isn't everyone else like us? Right?
Right.
And that's important because it brings us back to remembering prayer. I think, St. Teresa is a perfect combination of Martha and Mary, because she was very much action-oriented. Saint Teresa of Calcutta, very action-oriented, but also prayerful, and so we kind of strive for that. But then I was, reading and preparing for this chat with you today, and I went to John and wanted to see what John has in the story with Martha and Mary, and this was when Jesus was coming to their home, and Lazarus had died. So Jesus, he's telling her basically who he is. He says, "I'm the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he die, shall he live, and whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this?" And so this is really interesting, because Martha says to him something very profound, and he hasn't even raised Lazarus yet from the dead.
Right.
So this is pre-resurrection here for
also,
Lazarus.
I thought about this. This is one of the strongest statements of faith
It
in
is.
the New Testament.
I mean, the only other comparison really is Peter. And then he tells Peter, "You're the rock."
Yes.
So she says, "Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, he who is coming into the world." And then, you would think there'd be some contemplation there, like there was when Peter made that, a declaration. But then she just, when she said this, she went and called her sister Mary. So she pretty much said, "Yes, I know who you are. Let me get back to work."
Well, she reminds me too, and that scene's always made me laugh, because to me, she almost seems like when we were kids, you'd often send the little sister to ask for things because you knew that she was the favorite or whatever, you know. And I kind of felt that way. She went to get Mary to go and take care of, continue what she's requesting.
Right. And there is that contemplative aspect in John when she makes that. She makes that statement.
Yes.
So it's almost kind of showing her in a Mary state.
That's right.
Because she's making that affirmation. She's saying, "Yes, I know who you are, and and I believe."
Right.
And you haven't even brought my brother back to life yet.
Right. Yeah. That's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And,
Yes.
So she's making that declaration there, and then she just gets on about her business, which reminds us of how important prayer is to the action piece, because you can't have one without the other.
And she was also the one who actually went to see Jesus too. Mary.
Yes.
You kind of wonder, well, why didn't Mary go?
Yeah.
So that's something.
Well, she's a doer, so she's gonna keep going.
Right.
So, I love Martha. She resonates with me. There's distractions in the Bible. It says Martha was distracted with much serving, and I think as someone who is action oriented, and we find ourselves in doing a lot of service within the church, it's important to remember the prayer aspect of it, and how important that is to balance the two, so we can do the best in our faith and with our actions.
Most definitely. The other thing, Dan Burke, I don't know if you know Dan Burke, but he has said that if you are cutting your prayer time short because you have so much to do, even if it's for the Lord, that's a big problem, and that means you're not trusting God enough.
Right.
Because time with Him is the most important thing.
Right.
Now, if you have work to do, you have work to do, but you do need to have that time with Him.
Exactly. Yeah, and the anxiety aspect where, he says she's anxious and troubled. And I think, especially in times like now, we have that ability to be very anxious and not trust in the Lord, and to bring that prayer into our life to kind of calm ourselves.
Well, something that I have trouble with, especially if I have a very busy day, doing my prayer time in the morning, sometimes I have to keep pulling myself back, because I realize I've been reading the Psalms or whatever, and I don't even remember what I read, So do you have a way that you can kind of pull your prayer back to being,
Well, with certain actions, like for St. Vincent de Paul, my caseworkers and I, we had decided early on, a few years ago, we had decided let's bring prayer into
That's
before we
great.
begin our service that morning. So we just huddle, we have a little
That's
huddle,
good.
and someone will say a prayer, whether prepared or just kind of spontaneously
Right.
will say a prayer, which is very nice. I think, yeah, that's important to kind of, even beginning like board meetings or,
Right.
any type of meeting, start it with prayer,
Right.
because we can get so busy with that. But just trying to find time during the day, designated times, always
Right.
helpful. Or having a lot of kind of sacramentals around to remind you.
Right.
I carry, I wear the miraculous medal, and it's nice to have that around me because when I hear it jingle, I'll, remind
Right.
myself
Right.
to say a little prayer, maybe a memorare for the, to the Blessed Mother, or something like that. So start your day with prayer is always important. Father had mentioned that a while back in one of his videos, I believe, on
Right.
Facebook. Just to kind of start the day before you, pick up your phone,
Right.
And now I just kind of roll out of bed and try to say a prayer right then and
Right.
there.
Right.
And then we've been doing a Rosary Across America on
Okay.
Relevant Radio, which is nice family time at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
We've been doing that. So
In the
just-
morning.
No,
Oh.
8 p.m. Yeah. So it's a nice way to end the day too.
Yes.
But just designated times I think are important.
Very.
And then trying to always bring, if it's a committee or some kind of group that you're working with, to get a task done, whether it's with the school or,
Right.
or the Christian Women's Association or something, always try to make sure it is interlaced or prayers weaved in through
Right.
that. And to always remember what your goal is and the mission, because sometimes it's so easy to lose
Right.
the goal, the end goal, or the purpose. Why are we even here?
Right.
Right. To bring back Christ and remember that's kind of the seed that's the whole
Right.
reason for that, whatever you've planted there.
As a matter of fact, when we started the Bible studies, I told the in-home Bible studies, I told the leaders, we're calling it a Bible study. But what it really is help people get to know Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing is to get to know, and in prayer too, to connect with Jesus Christ. And the words help us do that,
Mhm.
but it's the getting to know Jesus Christ that's most important.
Yes, absolutely. And to not be afraid of that.
Right.
In today's day, we shield ourselves
Right.
or thought we don't want to offend anyone or,
Right.
but it's important to, to be Christ-like and to not be afraid to
Right.
witness to other
True,
people
true.
when the opportunity presents itself. So I try to do that, even with St. Vincent de Paul, just bless you, have a great day,
Right.
and to be that Christ-like figure for them, and then in turn there, to see Christ in them as well, so to
Yeah.
treat them, with respect and compassion. So it's just it's a nice story. Martha just
Right.
brings it back to us, and I think all of us have something to learn or take away from this.
Right. The other thing that I just also was sort of reviewing about Martha is in John 12, which does not talk about it. The only thing it says about Martha, it's the story where Mary takes the ointment, and
Yes, yeah.
the one thing it says is Martha served.
Martha was serving, right?
That's all it
Right.
says, so I thought that was funny.
Yes.
So she was
And I
the
wasn't
same.
sure if that was the same story from Luke, just early
Right.
on.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wasn't
I
sure
don't
if that
we
was-
know. We don't
yeah.
know. I think. Yeah.
So,
we
but
don't.
yeah, Martha was serving.
Yeah, was serving.
She
Yeah,
was
yeah.
busy in the kitchen.
Yeah, but she didn't
Getting
complain
it
this
right.
time.
No, she wasn't. So, yeah, I think we all have our gifts.
Right.
And to remember the balance.
Right.
And if we are Martha oriented tonight, and I do the same thing. I say Martha, I'm a Martha in a negative kind of connotation, but to remember that she has many gifts in the
Right.
Bible and to teach us. So and I think that the piece in John is just so profound when she just she declares Christ.
Yes.
Right.
The other thing about the time when Mary's sitting at the feet is Jesus really did rebuke her, as you said, and in front of all the guests.
Yeah.
And in front of Mary.
Yeah.
And that must have been hard to take.
Yeah, but I almost see he says it twice. He says her name twice. I almost feel like the second Martha was to soften the blow.
Yeah.
Because if someone had said my name once, then it might be a little bit more kind of
Right.
you know, like
Oh,
that.
I like that.
But he says her name twice, and I think the second time I could almost hear his tone kind of
Right. Oh, I like that.
settling
Yeah.
in a little,
Right.
you know, where it was kind of almost like, you know, Martha,
Yeah.
Martha, you know.
Yeah. Right.
Where he says it the second time just to kind of to soften the blow a little bit.
Yeah. And he also just so loved the three of them.
Yes,
He just loved
yes.
them. And
Yeah.
the one time that Jesus cried, of course, was
Right.
that we know that Jesus cried anyway,
Right.
is when Lazarus died.
Right. So, yeah, so she's just, she's a great figure in the Bible that I think, and she's got a lot of good, you know, those good discussions with Christ, those good conversations with Christ.
Right.
That, and even the fact that she's talking to God is, even though she's, you know, that conversation with God, we can have that conversation with God.
True.
Where, you know, if and you know, oftentimes our conversations are not, you know, these wonderful, blissful conversations that we need to have. So she brings that out, you know, in the Bible perfectly, where she's kind of like, you know, well, why isn't so, you know? So I think sometimes God isn't expecting us to come to Him with all of these wonderful, you know, kind of, you know, not the memorizing prayers, but you know, just that deep, intense kind of, you know, here I am, Christ, you know, and you lay it all out there. I think those are those moments where we have the most moments to learn from Christ, as opposed to those kind of memorizing, kind of monotonous kind of prayers that you just kind of sometimes roll out and don't really put much meaning to them. But I love that conversation she has with Him, because she opened herself up for rebuking, but also for God to use that moment to teach her.
Right. That's I hadn't thought about that aspect. And it is true that Jesus can take our complaints.
Yes.
You know, He can take them. He's God. He's all powerful. But we're the ones that are going to be changed.
Right. And she, you know, I felt like, you know, well, you know, you never know if it's sequential in order, you know, or chronological in the Luke and the John version. But in John, you know, when she's having that conversation with Christ, where she says, "I'm who you are," you know, it was almost kind of like, you know, just because the gospel came second, you know, it's almost like maybe she learned her lesson a little bit, but then she was also serving later on.
Yeah, that's true.
But so she's a great character, and I wanted to bring her to the chat today.
Well, I'm so glad you did that. That's really great. That's wonderful. So, any last minute? I think that's your last.
Yeah, no.
Thank y'all for joining us. Wonderful person to talk about again, Martha. And we look forward to hopefully you coming back for our next chat about I don't know who. And God bless. And between now and then, if you could pray for Lori and for myself and for the parish, we all need prayers.
Thank you.
God bless.